If certification prep is part of your plan, subscribe for new practice videos and guides every week. Visit cloudcertificationstore.com for weekly releases and complete question banks. Welcome back to Get It Done Certified. Episode 5 of the AWS Certified AI Practitioner, AIF-C01, playlist takes us through questions 41 through 50. Let's continue your practice. Question 41. A company wants to use AWS Glue but has minimal programming experience. Which AWS service can help? Option A, Amazon Q Developer. Option B, AWS Config. Option C, Amazon Personalize. Option D, Amazon Comprehend. The correct answer is A, Amazon Q Developer. Explanation. Q Developer can guide users through code generation and ETL job scaffolding. It reduces the barrier to creating Glue jobs and scripts with best practice patterns. Reference tracking helps understand generated snippets and dependencies. This accelerates onboarding to Glue. Why not option B? AWS Config tracks resource configurations and compliance drifts. It won't build ETL jobs or author Glue scripts. It addresses governance, not developer enablement. Thus, not helpful here. Why not option C? Amazon Personalize, a recommendation service unrelated to ETL creation. It doesn't interact with Glue job authoring tasks. Using it would not advance Glue workflows. Therefore, misaligned. Why not option D? Amazon Comprehend NLP service for text analysis, not an ETL/job authoring helper. It can be a downstream consumer of Glue pipelines but won't help create them. Hence, not suitable. Question 42. What is a characteristic of AI governance frameworks for human-centered AI? Option A, expanding initiatives across business units. Option B, aligning with revenue goals and stakeholder expectations. Option C, overcoming challenges to drive transformation. Option D, policies and guidelines for data, transparency, responsible AI, and compliance. The correct answer is D, policies and guidelines for data, transparency, responsible AI, and compliance. Explanation. Governance frameworks codify principles and controls that guide AI development and use. They specify documentation, risk management, and oversight processes. This builds trust by ensuring accountability and ethical practice. It's the defining feature of governance. Why not option A? Expansion across units and adoption strategy, not a governance attribute. Rollout scope doesn't define what governance is. Governance should exist regardless of scale. Hence, not the characteristic sought. Why not option B? Alignment with revenue goals and outcome of good strategy, not the framework's essence. Governance may support alignment, but it isn't its core property. The question asks about defining characteristics. Therefore, B is secondary. Why not option C? Driving transformation, a business objective, not governance content. Governance focuses on controls, policies, and accountability. Transformation may follow, but it's not the framework's definition. Thus, not correct. Question 43. An e-commerce company uses a generative AI chatbot and wants to measure financial impact. Which metric should it use? Option A, number of inquiries handled. Option B, cost of training models. Option C, cost per customer conversation. Option D, average handle time odd. The correct answer is C, cost per customer conversation. Explanation. It directly ties operational expense to each interaction, enabling ROI analysis. Comparing cost per conversation to human-handled baselines quantifies savings. It can be tracked over time as prompts/flows improve. This is the clearest financial lens on chatbot operations. Why not option A? Number of inquiries handled measures volume, not cost efficiency. High volume can still be expensive per conversation. It's useful but not a financial impact metric by itself. Thus, incomplete. Why not option B? Cost of training models largely a one-time or periodic CAPEX/OPEX, not per interaction. It doesn't reflect ongoing operational efficiency. The question targets day-to-day financial effect. Therefore, not ideal. Why not option D? Useful for efficiency and customer experience, but doesn't directly monetize costs. A shorter AHT doesn't ensure lower cost per chat if infrastructure is pricey. It's an operational KPI, not a cost metric. Hence, not the best fit. Question 44. A company wants to find customer groups based on demographics and buying patterns. Which algorithm should it use? Option A, K-nearest neighbors, KNN. Option B, K-means. Option C, decision tree. Option D, support vector machine, SVM. The correct answer is B, K-means. Explanation. K-means is an unsupervised clustering algorithm that partitions data into K groups by similarity. It's widely used for customer segmentation when labels are absent. Results can inform targeting, personalization, and product strategy. It aligns exactly with the requirement. Why not option A? KNN, a supervised algorithm for classification/regression given labeled data. It does not discover clusters from unlabeled records. Applying it would require labels that aren't available. Thus, not appropriate. Why not option C? Decision tree supervised learning that requires target labels. It can't autonomously group customers without predefined outcomes. It's better for explainable classification/regression tasks. Therefore, unsuitable here. Why not option D? SVM, another supervised method that finds separating hyperplanes between known classes. Without labels, it cannot produce customer groupings. It's the wrong paradigm for clustering. Hence, incorrect. Question 45. A company's LLM is hallucinating. How can it reduce hallucinations? Option A. Set up agents for Amazon Bedrock to supervise training. Option B. Remove any data that causes hallucinations in preprocessing. Option C. Decrease the temperature parameter. Option D. Use an FM that is trained to never hallucinate. The correct answer is C. Decrease the temperature parameter. Explanation. Lower temperature makes token sampling more deterministic, reducing off-topic creativity. It often improves factual consistency when prompts are well-formed. Pairing this with stronger grounding, RAG/guardrails, further helps. It's a low-cost, immediate mitigation at inference time. Why not option A? Agents to supervise training. Agents orchestrate tools and retrieval. They don't govern model training. They can help with grounding but won't fix sampling-driven hallucination directly. The option misstates their role. Thus, incorrect. Why not option B? Remove hallucination. Data hallucinations arise at inference even with clean data. It's a generative sampling behavior. Preprocessing helps training quality but doesn't eliminate creative drift. Without changing inference controls, issues persist. Therefore, not sufficient. Why not option D? Use an FM that never hallucinates. No general-purpose FM is guaranteed hallucination-free. All models can produce errors under uncertainty. The realistic approach is to control sampling and add grounding/validation. Hence, D is not feasible. If this practice session is helping, subscribe so you don't miss the next certification guide or practice video. New content arrives every week, and visit cloudcertificationstore.com for weekly releases. Question 46. Which solution meets the requirements of an educational game that asks probability questions with the least operational overhead? Option A. Use supervised learning to create a regression model that will predict probability. Option B. Use reinforcement learning to train a model to return the probability. Option C. Use code that will calculate probability by using simple rules and computations. Option D. Use unsupervised learning to create a model that will estimate probability density. The correct answer is C. Use code that will calculate probability by using simple rules and computations. Explanation. Known probability formulas can be computed directly and deterministically with a few lines of code. This avoids training data collection, labeling, and model lifecycle management entirely. It yields transparent, verifiable answers consistent with textbook probability. Operationally, it's the cheapest and simplest approach to maintain. Why not option A? Supervised learning regression requires labeled datasets and an iterative training process. It approximates an answer you already know how to compute analytically, adds inference costs and drift risk with no accuracy benefit. Overhead is unjustified for closed-form probabilities. Why not option B? Reinforcement learning needs environment design, reward shaping, and significant sample collection. RL solves sequential decision problems, not static formula evaluation. It's complex and brittle for deterministic math. Far higher cost for inferior control. Why not option D? Unsupervised learning estimates structure in unlabeled data, e.g., density/clusters, but doesn't produce exact probability answers. Would require extra steps to map density to the game's questions. Adds complexity with unclear accuracy guarantees, not aligned with the requirement. Question 47. Which solution gives the LLM the ability to use content from previous customer messages in a Bedrock chatbot? Option A. Turn on model invocation logging to collect messages. Option B. Add messages to the model prompt. Option C. Use Amazon Personalized to save conversation history. Option D. Use provision throughput for the LLM. The correct answer is B. Add messages to the model prompt. Explanation. Supplying the prior turns in the prompt gives the model direct conversational context. This enables coreference resolution, memory of user constraints, and continuity. It's immediate and requires no new services or storage beyond what you already passed to inference. You can combine this with truncation strategies to stay within the context window. Why not option A? Invocation logging produces audit trails but does not feed history back to the model. Logs live outside the inference context and are not read during generation. Useful for compliance, not for conversational memory. It doesn't solve the problem. Why not option C? Amazon Personalize optimizes recommendations from user item interactions. It's not a conversation state store. It won't automatically recall or inject prior messages into prompts. Misaligned purpose leads to added complexity, not suitable for dialogue context. Why not option D? Provisioned throughput reserves capacity for performance SLAs but does not change input context. Higher throughput won't help the model remember previous turns. It addresses scaling, not memory. Therefore, irrelevant to the requirement. Question 48. Which AWS service meets the requirement to automate personalized product descriptions based on caller location? Option A. Amazon Macy. Option B. Amazon Transcribe. Option C. Amazon Bedrock. Option D. Amazon Textract. The correct answer is C. Amazon Bedrock. Explanation. Bedrock foundation models can generate text conditioned on inputs like location and persona. You can programmatically steer tone, length, and local references per request. This scales easily across locales without retraining. It directly automates dynamic copywriting aligned to context. Why not option A? Amazon Macy sensitive data discovery for S3. It doesn't generate text. It can help classify data but not create descriptions. Using it here provides no content automation. Not applicable. Why not option B? Amazon Transcribe converts speech to text, not text generation. It could transcribe a caller's speech but won't produce marketing copy. You'd still need a generator afterwards. Hence, insufficient. Why not option D? Amazon Textract extracts text from documents/images. It's not a generative service. It won't craft personalized narratives or descriptions. Misaligned to content creation use case. Therefore, incorrect. Question 49. Which solution fully automates sensitive information detection in S3 email uploads with the least development effort? Option A. Configure Amazon Macy to detect sensitive information in S3 documents. Option B. Use Amazon SageMaker endpoints to deploy an LLM to redact sensitive data. Option C. Develop multiple regex patterns to detect sensitive data on a SageMaker notebook. Option D. Ask customers to avoid sharing sensitive information in their email messages. The correct answer is A. Configure Amazon Macy to detect sensitive information in S3 documents. Explanation. Macy includes managed detectors for PII/financial/health identifiers out of the box. It integrates with S3 events and scales with minimal code. Findings can be routed to notifications or automated workflows. This offers the fastest path to compliant detection. Why not option B? Custom LLM redaction requires model selection, tuning, hosting, and maintenance. Redaction accuracy may be uneven without careful evaluation. It's costly compared to turnkey Macy. Overkill for standard PII detection. Why not option C? Handwritten rejects brittle, hard to maintain, and prone to false positives/negatives. New patterns must be added manually as formats evolve. Reinventing detectors wastes time versus managed capabilities, not the least effort path. Why not option D? Ask customers not to send PII policy alone won't prevent violations in practice. Provides no automated detection or enforcement. Fails compliance and audit expectations. Therefore, not a solution. Question 50. A company wants to use Bedrock with product manuals stored as PDFs to power a chat interface cost-effectively. What should it do? Option A. Add one PDF as context in each prompt. Option B. Add all PDFs as context in each prompt. Option C. Fine-tune a model on all PDFs. Option D. Upload PDFs to a Bedrock knowledge base and use it for retrieval. The correct answer is D. Upload PDFs to a Bedrock knowledge base and use it for retrieval. Explanation. A knowledge base enables RAG, fetching only the relevant passages per question. This minimizes prompt tokens and avoids expensive training. Content updates don't require model retraining, just reindexing. It balances cost, freshness, and accuracy. Why not option A? One PDF per prompt ignores other manuals and may miss critical context, forces manual selection and increases operational friction, doesn't scale for many documents, hence, fragile and incomplete. Why not option B? All PDFs per prompt exceeds context windows and inflates token costs. slows responses and risks truncation of vital sections. It's the opposite of targeted retrieval, not cost-effective. Why not option C? Fine-tune on all PDFs expensive, slow, and locks knowledge into weights. Updating content requires repeated training cycles. RAG solves the problem with far less overhead, therefore suboptimal. Thanks for studying with us. If this episode was useful, follow the channel and pass it along to a colleague or friend preparing for the certification. Continue with the next episode in the playlist to keep the momentum going.